Shai by Shema Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Those in the gospel, brother, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Shema Shai, wherever it may be. This lesson is titled, we're in a time of major psyops, okay? Which psyop stands for psychological operation, which means it's a play on a mindset and the activity of people's minds as to the activities that's transpiring here in Babylon the Great. As we know, the two primary culprits of chaos that's happening in the world now is that of here in America, and of course around the world. You know, countries like Nepal, the UK, France, you know, different European countries are erupting in chaos. But Israel and Babylon the Great is the primary objective to get everybody under this new system. So psychological operations is at an all-time high because, see, right now narratives and plots are being dictated as to how they're getting ready to go along with this great reset. So with that being said, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, you had the latest news of the week. Goes by the name of this guy Charlie Kirk, which is a known right-wingist, which is a Trump supporter, that got pew-pew. Basically, he caught a bullet to the noodle, like my man in Training Day. What Denzel say? He said they'll be the ones that catch the bullet to the noodle. Now, yesterday, and it was so funny and how ironic it was, because for the simple fact, he was going into how like gang violence and speaking about TGs, which we know to be, you know, transformers, and he was speaking about certain violences in the communities and how so-called blacks, which he had a history of bashing Jake because the dude was a flat-out racist. He was a devil. But how ironic is it that he was speaking on certain things of gang violence and also mass shootings, and then all of a sudden he caught a bullet to the neck. Now apparently he wore a bulletproof vest. They said he had body armor on because according to census rules, when you're at a major gathering with over so many people, you have to have bodyguards, you have to have some type of security team to protect your well-being, because, you know, in this day and age, especially if you're in the political limelight, people are looking to unalive you, right? Because the various talking points and votes of oppression and tyranny that you devil have put on the population for the longest, right? So allegedly he had a bulletproof vest on from certain sources. Now allegedly the bullet hit him in the chest, but it ricocheted and hit him in the neck. Okay, because one thing about a professional sniper, they going for a kill shot to make it look professional. They gonna aim for the heart. Okay, sometimes they aim for the head, but the chest is the easiest target to hit. Okay, just like in boxing, right? If you got somebody on the ropes, you want to kind of aim at the center or the mid region because that's more of a target, because a guy can move his head quicker than he can move his midsection. You see what I'm saying? So same thing in sniping. If you're a professional sniper and you at a certain distance, then you're going to aim for the chest because, you know, the velocity and the force behind a projectile at a certain distance is sure to kill. Okay, so allegedly the bullet aimed at the guy's chest, then it hit him in the neck, and bam, he bled out. And, you know, it was curtains. He woke up in an upper room, you know. So to say this, they want to pin things on Jake, all right, because allegedly the old cracker that they caught was not the alleged shooter. Now you got to ask yourself this: with all types of surveillance that the FBI has, you know, and with this new and uprunning digital system that they're trying to implement, you mean to tell me that they couldn't find out who assassinated this guy? All right, and the funny part about it all is that just a day prior, maybe 2 days prior, or a couple of days prior, you had the mass stabbing of the Ukrainian woman, which I found out she was a refugee. She was basically on the run because, you know, America allows sanctuary cities or people to come from different countries that's been torn apart by war to seek refuge and sanctuary. So apparently the woman was not even, she was a refugee, so to speak. And, you know, you had the crazy nigga that walked up behind her and he stabbed her. And that was that. Now you got the whole internet world going crazy, talking about how niggas is the problem, niggas is the problem, niggas is the problem. And I will admit, Jake is a domestic problem. I will admit that. But when it comes to assassination, that's not in Jake's character. Okay, you don't catch Jake shooting in the crowds full of Edomites because Jake understands the repercussions of that. Now, when it comes to shooting other niggas, that's different. Jake don't really care because there's no immediate repercussions for killing other so-called black men. But when it comes to something like this, that's clearly this was a work of Esau, man. All right, and you got to understand too that this guy Charlie Kirk, he was set up because remember, if you look at the tweet that B.B. Mikowski tweeted, he basically called him a true voice, and how he was an ally to Israel, and how he was invited over to Israel by Netanyahu, you know who. Okay, but yet this guy has made claims that Epstein was a government spy, that he was set up by the Israeli task force, blase, blase, blase. And he's directly speaking against the small hats, but somehow, some way, Netanyahu, you know who, or B.B. Mikowski, give this guy, you know, he gives him a pass, man. So that shows you right there that this was an inside job. Okay, now, however the media is going to sway it, eventually, Jake will be the face of terror here in America, because ultimately, Esau needs a reason as to deploy this new technology called Palantir. Okay, you got Palantir, you got, which is basically, in the Gideon Project, which is basically like some Minority Report type shit. And then also you have Stargate, which all is going to tie under one banner, so to speak, because Stargate will be the interface that connects Palantir and the Gideon Project, because they invested $500 billion in its new infrastructure. Okay, so with that being said, all these mass shootings, okay, all this violence that's erupting in the city, they have to have a justifiable means as to why they have a buildup of troops in these cities, man. Okay, because now allegedly gang violence is the problem, when in fact gang violence have never been more of a worldwide problem, but it's more of a domestic and a more of a integrated problem, so to speak, man. Like, yeah, sure, Chicago has a gang problem, but that gang problem is pretty much contained within the confinements of the city, man. Okay, you ain't got Jake going over there to the UK claiming BD, putting shit on BD or Blackstone, stabbing up a bunch of people in the UK, but that's something you devils do. Okay, all mass shooters, 99.9% of them was you so-called white people, man. But you got crackers on the internet talking about, oh, well, you know, you black people, you violent, this and that. Dude, a nigga could commit 1,000 crimes a year and it would not be able to touch closely to what you've done in the last 500 years of mass genocide, man. Okay, niggas could kill 1 million motherfuckers a year and we still wouldn't come close to your amount of death you didn't cause on this planet Earth, man. Especially when you so-called white people, you are actually the minority on the planet, man. I think you make up, what, 7 to 10% of the world's population, but yet your track record in death and murder and displacement and destabilizing countries and governments have been at an all-time high, man. You see what I'm saying? So we in a time of psyops, brothers, man, and you have to very, very be on point, because they're setting up checkpoints in these different sanctuary cities. I know in DC, they setting up checkpoints, asking for identification, because allegedly they're trying to find quote-unquote illegals, which Esau is the last demon to call somebody illegal. Chicago, the troops are out there working together with ICE, okay, to grab up so-called illegal migrants, man. And they just harassing niggas, man, okay, which in many cases, Jake deserve it, because Jake is wicked. Jake is a domestic problem, and Jake is more of a problem to themselves than anybody else, man. And Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is not going to continue to stand for that, man. Okay, so this Charlie Kirk shit, hey, this is going to be talked about for the next couple of weeks easily, because they have to make him a martyr. Because when you're reading certain tweets and posts and all this other stuff, they're talking about how he was a hero and he was a God-fearing man. How the fuck you a God-fearing man putting aside when you straight up talk about the Lord's people, man? Okay, you talking about how blacks are violent and how the crime in blacks and statistics this and statistics that, when the statistics that you speak about don't add up, bro. Okay, so-called white people outnumber and outmitigate Jake in crime 10 to 1 on all levels. I mean, Jake may be up there when it comes to burglary, but when it comes to homicide and murder and genocide, hey, you take the cake, hands down. That's why I always mention that, hey, if we giving out awards in the kingdom and who's going to get the devil of the decade, Hey, Esau, you gonna win that shit hands down. Hell, I'll fucking write you up a reward myself and present that shit to you on the plantation for being the devil, man. Because you played this part perfect. You know? Lord wasn't making an understatement when he said that this man was going to be the wicked. You know? So with this whole psyops shit, you had another mass school shooting. Then you had some shit that went down at the CDC. Then you got the ordeal out there in Nepal. And that's the Spirit 4414. 44 viewers, 14 likes. But you had the whole situation in Nepal when everything erupted in government chaos. And, you know, people were just like, you know what? It is what it is. They took shit to the streets, man. You know? So, anyway, this is just a quick lesson. Lord's will, I'll come back with another one. But I want to quote a scripture, Ephesians 5:15. It's one of my favorite scriptures. Be circumspect, be diligent, you know, stay on point. But the scriptures say, be circumspect because your adversary, the devil. I mean, no, that's not that scripture, but Ephesians 5:15 goes into being circumspect because the days are evil, man. Okay? Not walking as fools, but walking as wise because the days are evil. Okay? These people are out their goddamn minds, man. And hey, Jake is out their mind too, man. Because niggas are out here turning up and Jake is doing things that's not really conducive to the spirit. So therefore, we got to be extra on point, man. You know? So anyway, this is just a quick lesson. Giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Rakakwadash. Lord's will, you were edified. Until the next lesson. Shalom.